Now, thanks to my good friend Watermelon on Instagram, I was able to relive the history of Kail and Demonios, or however you pronounce his name. Now, if you guys don't remember, in 2017, the Ashley actually blasted Kail for being in bed with Demonios while Chris Lopez was too busy being in bed with the unidentified girl that the Ashley had reported. And the Ashley also reported that Kail was only trying to make him jealous by being with this man. However, Kail took this man to California, Hollywood studios. They were laughing, having a good old time, and in bed as well. More pictures than what Chris Lopez had with his mistress, if I can call it that. So it made people think that it was more to the story. Now, while Chris's alleged girl sold her story to the Ashley or gave it to the Ashley, however it happened, she is now allegedly and supposedly happily married. So we're not really going to focus on her. We're really going to focus on Kail because this would explain some of Chris Lopez's behavior. Now, hear what I say. It will explain it. It will not demonetize it. It will not excuse it. It will only explain it because of the messages that Kail was sending me in my DM, how Chris used to ask her about her past relationships, but she would never give him any information and then he would turn violent. This does not excuse it. It is just an example of what was going on in their relationship. Now, Chris was supposedly cheating with this girl who is now happily married, so I won't name her, but he was supposedly cheating with this girl, and the next thing you know, you look up and Kail's in bed with some mysterious dude, probably on purpose. And she was also flirting with him on Twitter, saying, I'm in a long distance relationship with my neighbor, and saying, I wonder if I will see him today. And just giving people all the ammo they needed to go online and give any conclusion that they could, because she wasn't really saying anything. She was just saying, I'm supposedly in this long distance relationship with my neighbor and blah, blah, blah. To this day, we don't even know if this man lived beside her. But what happened today was a short Twitter exchange between the two, which got the teen mom fandom kind of riled up. So this was the exchange on Twitter. I'm not going to really read it. The only thing that he replied back was, you need to take a risk now. And she replied back to him. If you go to these two profiles, you will see that they're still following each other. So, my only criticism is if you had sex with someone, which I'm pretty sure they did. If you had sex with someone while you were pregnant with someone else's baby, that being Chris Lopez's baby, why are you still following the man who you had sex with while you were pregnant with another man's baby on Twitter? Because like minds want to know. It's not so much about the interaction. It's about the simple fact that you're still following him and that maybe this would cause some issues. Now, while talking to me and publicly her friends, they said that Chris Lopez would get mad because Kail would not let him see her phone the same way she wouldn't let Javi see her phone because she was allegedly talking to all these dudes. So here we are again with Damasio. Like, here we are again. And let's keep it honest. This is a dude who looks very, very similar to Chris Lopez, and it announces to the world that she has a type. And if we literally go back in time, we can go back in time to Game of Clones, which was a bullshit MTV series that got canceled within the first season. And Chris Lopez actually went onto his podcast and said that he had no prior knowledge of how the game actually worked. And if you listen to it, he seems pretty hurt about it.
Game of Thrones is really close to Game of Clones. So I don't know if y'all ever watched that show, but I never watched it personally. Well, look, my son's mother was on that show, right? And like people ask me about it, and like, how do y'all want me to react to that? How would y'all want me to react? Like, you're dealing with that person that's on a dating show right now. you were talking to them while they were filming and all that, and then it was downplayed. And just imagine, you forget about it, and months later, well, months later, you sitting there not knowing nothing, blind to the world, and all of a sudden you fucking watching TV with your family, and you look up and you see your baby mom with 7 dudes in your face. You like, oh shit. You feel me? Like, how do you take that? It's like, oh, wait a minute. Like, wasn't nobody gonna tell me? You feel me? That's how it was. But get me on there. Y'all should put me on there. Game of Clones. Y'all should put.
Despite the fact that Chris Lopez is a complete dumbass narcissist, we have to even put into the equation that Kail might have been playing some mind games with him. Okay, now I see it. Now that I see that she's still entertaining dudes from her past, even if she isn't entertaining the dude from her past, why are you following him on Twitter? Because if my boyfriend would have caught me in some ish like that, he would have made me block everybody immediately. Okay, so don't have a conversation with him on Twitter knowing that everybody is going to take it and run with it, for one. For two, it's been several incidences, despite the ones that you have described to me, been put out to the media because, when we were talking, it was this girl that, this girl that, this girl that, but it's been on both sides, okay? So I'm not excusing his anger, but I can see anger on both sides. You know what I'm saying? Both parties aren't completely innocent. While a man will overpower a woman, I'm just saying that the anger, like taking out the domestic violence, the actual anger and the distaste for one another will come from both sides. Now, let's move on to Chris Lopez and this freaking court date. So on my Instagram, I had posted that, he was detained and then he was released. And some people thought that Kail paid his bond. But then it came out later on that he didn't even have a bond. All he needed was for someone to come pick him up from the jail. So, no, she didn't pay his bond because, like I said, these two are literally feuding right now. Literally feuding, and they need time from one another. Chris Lopez has deleted every picture of Lux from his Instagram, which at the time wasn't much. I think it was like one picture. And he keeps putting up these messages like he's so pissed off and he's out for blood now. But we don't know what's really going on in the camp. And I gotta be honest, my Delaware Connect really is more Javi. It's not Chris. The only connect I had was the aunt, and she's not talking anymore. She's not talking anymore, and rightfully so. She's been in a whole bunch of drama, so she's not talking anymore. And then my other connect was Kail herself, and Kail has lawyered up. She's not talking anymore. So I really don't know what's going on from either side at this point anymore. But I will say that I feel like it's all gonna play out on Teen Mom 2. I actually have the full story. The full story was given to me, but I cannot release it. She's lawyered the fuck up, like I said. And even if I did have the full story, I'm not Kail Lowry, and I don't have any right to report her story or her womb or anything like that. Despite the aunt airing out the business and me reposting it, from this point, I have no right at all to report on what's going on in her metric system. I just don't. If anybody's going to tell the story from here on out, it's going to be Kail. It would be distasteful for me to put out any more information about the pregnancy or about basically the pregnancy, because I don't give a fuck about what's going on with her and Chris. I'll report that until I'm blue in the face. The pregnancy, I don't have no right to put out, so I'm not going to do it. So what y'all think?